What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here's Legitical Response. I cover political news constantly, folks, and we got some blatant hypocrisy once again coming from the U.S. government, the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, check this out, y'all. U.S. unveils massive tranche of sanctions targeting who? Russia. That is right. So we're talking about Russia. Yeah, this is getting outright insane, this whole Ukraine deal going on, right? We shouldn't be there, right? And I know somebody down in the comments, Mr. John Broker, is going to disagree with me on this. He wants to fund the military-industrial complex. He wants to fund the assassination of Vladimir Putin, for crying out loud. You know, maybe not that far. You know, I'm just being hyperbolic with that one, but he looks at as Putin as an evil guy. Hey, I agree with him on that. I just don't think we should be involved. But let's get into the story because, some esoteric story about sanctions on Russia. Why is this newsworthy? Yeah, you'll see. We'll get into it. Stay tuned, folks. The United States on Friday unveiled a massive tranche of sanctions in the latest effort to target Russia's war machine as the war with Ukraine continues. The sanctions from the U.S. Treasury and State Departments hit nearly 400 people and entities both in and outside Russia, including China. That's the insane part to me, but we'll get into that. The sanctions, unveiled ahead of Ukrainian Independence Day, specifically target those supporting the Russian supply chain and defense base, as well as those helping Moscow to evade current sanctions. The U.S. is also expected to announce additional security assistance to Ukraine on Friday, National Security Council Communications Advisor John Kirby said. We continue to support Ukraine's fight for their independence and independence that they have had to defend pretty mightily here over the past 2.5 years, Kirby told reporters Friday morning. And so I suspect that as we officially mark their Independence Day, you'll see that we will back up that philosophical support for their independence with more tangible support as well, including, in particular, more security assistance coming to Ukraine to help them as they defend themselves. And that is my sticking point, because it is no longer Ukraine defending themselves, folks. I don't know if you have heard it. I haven't seen the corporate press discuss this, but did you guys know that Ukraine invaded Russia? Oh, that just blows my mind. You know, if I was president, we would not be funding Ukraine whatsoever, because there's significant questions going on between the Biden family corrupt business dealings that were going on in Ukraine and Ukraine itself, and all this money that we're funneling into Ukraine. I wonder what's going on with that, because there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of conflicts of interest with that, if you ask me. You know, but for one, why are we involved in somebody else's war? And you love to hear these people say it. They'll say, oh, well, Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. And I laugh at that. That is ridiculous. That is some weird, just odd statement to make. Really, illegal invasion. It's an invasion, bruh. It's just an invasion. All invasions are illegal. When is a invasion of another country legal? Right? When they've invaded you? I don't think so. It might be justified, but legal, right? We invaded Iraq. Was that a legal invasion? No, it wasn't. That was an illegal invasion, because the president of the United States, George H.W. Bush, lied to everybody saying they had weapons of mass destruction, right? And we are the world police, folks. We got to go in there and stop them. That was an illegal invasion. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction, but, you know, I say, who cares if they have weapons of mass destruction? Guess what? We have weapons of mass destruction. We have lots of weapons of mass destruction. You don't see anybody invading us to take away our weapons of mass destruction. And hang on, if we're going with that logic there, China has weapons of mass destruction. How come we haven't invaded China? How come any country hasn't invaded China? Hang on. Russia also has weapons of mass destruction. Does that mean that Ukraine's invasion of Russia is legal? Justified? These are questions that I have for the State Department, as a matter of fact, because I don't buy into your BS. I think people need to leave each other alone. Somebody has weapons of mass destruction, so what? If you're on friendly terms with these people, then hey, they're not going to blow you into oblivion, for crying out loud. That's what I say. You leave them alone, they'll probably leave you alone, especially us, considering we're on the other side of the freaking world. Right? We have nothing to do with Russia invading Ukraine. And how do we know it's an illegal invasion, by the way? How do we know that? How do we know that Ukraine didn't strike Russia first? Right? It's not like the American government would tell us. Oh, you might say, oh, you would see it on the news. Not necessarily, folks. Not necessarily. What if a Ukrainian was caught trying to assassinate Putin? I'm just saying. I'm just putting out these situations. That is all I'm saying. We don't really know why Russia invaded Ukraine. We have no freaking clue. But yet, you get all these people putting Ukrainian flags in the freaking profile picture, getting behind this crap, willing to send billions of dollars to Ukraine. And for what? For what? To fund a war so people can kill each other? Oh, well, Russia, Putin's evil. So what? So what? Has nothing to do with us. Oh, and then they'll get out there and say, oh, well, you think Putin's going to stop in Ukraine? You know what I tell them? Yes. Next question. Or, I would say, do you think he's really going to keep going? Because, I mean, the only place he has really to go is other ex-Soviet nations or NATO. And I think Putin might be evil, but he's not an idiot, folks. He knows we have several ICBMs pointed at Moscow. He knows that. As a matter of fact, he's got several ICBMs pointed at Washington, for crying out loud. So, what's your point here? Putin would have to be an outright madman, just retarded as hell, to invade NATO, knowing that's going to trigger Article 5 and that we're going to get involved. That would be ridiculous for him to do. It would mean the end of Russia outright. It would mean the end of the world economy outright. He knows that. China would be the only one to benefit from that. I honestly think China would stay out of it. You know, of course, they would sell weapons to Russia, of course, but I don't think they'd get directly involved. Let's keep going, because I got more shit to say. Sorry for cussing y'all. Friday's slew of sanctions specifically cracked down on a number of Chinese-based companies. The U.S. and its European partners have expressed strong concern about Beijing's support for Russia's war economy and its export of dual-use items for use in the Ukraine war. Has nothing to do with us, right? They're partners. Russia and China are partners. How does that look? Us sanctioning China, right? We're not involved here. That's ridiculous. That would be the same amount of ridiculousness as China sanctioning us. They have every right to do it. If we're going to sanction China, then they have every freaking right to sanction us. But you tell this to any politician that's backing this war, and they'll be like, huh? They'll look at you like you're freaking stupid. It's the same logic, right? It's just in reverse. Right? Like, we're not at war with Russia. Neither is China. China's not at war with Ukraine. It's the same thing, folks. But yet we're sanctioning China for helping Russia. We're sending weapons to Ukraine by the billions of dollars. Where's the logic here? It's retarded. It's arrogant for us to sanction China and tell them, you better not help Russia, while we're funneling like all kinds of military equipment, weapons, billions of dollars to Ukraine. The utter hypocrisy going on here blows my mind. It like literally splits my dome like right here all the way around, blows the top of my head off. Literally. Not literally, but, literally. Hyperbolically literally. There you go. Let's keep going. July's NATO summit declaration called Beijing a decisive enabler of Russia's war against Ukraine. And we're a decisive enabler of Ukraine's war against Russia because they have invaded Russia, folks. So it's no longer all just evil Putin invaded Ukraine. No, Ukraine invaded Russia, as a matter of fact. So now it's just two complicit combatants. That's what that is. Sure, it's David versus Goliath. But you know what? That's something else, right? How come Russia hasn't totally obliterated Ukraine? Because they most certainly have the ability to do that. They have these little things called tactical nukes. At any point in time, they could send a 50 kiloton bomb, an artillery shell for crying out loud, with kiloton warhead, with kilotons of warhead, put it that way, and level Kyiv. Just boom. And that's it. And do you think we'd get involved? Do you really think we'd jump in if Putin did that? Do you think the United States would risk Washington, D.C. for Kyiv? If you really think that they would risk destroying our nation's capital because Russia destroyed Kyiv, a country that we're not even allies with officially, as far as any treaties. We don't have any defense agreements. None of that. Yeah, you're out of your mind if you believe that. And warned that China cannot enable the largest war in Europe in recent history without this negatively impacting its interests and reputation. U.S. officials said they had warned their Chinese counterparts about the risk of supporting Moscow's war effort. Who cares? I would hear these warnings and be like, you're arrogant, bruh. Sit down, shut up, and mind your own damn business. That's what I would tell them. A State Department fact sheet said it remains concerned by the magnitude of dual-use goods exports from the PRC to Russia, using the acronym for China's formal name, the People's Republic of China. No, it's the People's Communist China. That's what it is. They call the People's Republic of China. Yeah, Taiwan is the official government of China, by the way. Russia continues to leverage sanctions, evasion, and circumvention networks to get microelectronics and machine tools, which it uses to make weapons, it said. Imports from the PRC are filling critical gaps in Russia's defense production cycle, thereby enabling it to produce weapons, ramp up defense production, and bolster its military-industrial base. Today, the department is also designating several PRC-based entities that have supplied goods supporting Russia's war effort, including ones responsible for developing, producing, and supplying manufacturing equipment to entities based in Russia, the fact sheet said. But hang on, what are they designating them? It says it's also designating several PRC-based entities. What are they designating them as? I know it's giving sanctions, but why use that terminology? You know, you gotta look at some of this stuff from the corporate press because they love to word stuff weirdly. Word stuff. Yeah, they love to word stuff weirdly. Weirdly. And that's just weird. What are they designating them? Hostile? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm looking too deep into that. I know this is a news article about sanctions, but yeah, what are you designating? I'm sorry. Sorry not to get hung up on that. Treasury said it's targeting numerous transactional networks, including those involved in procuring ammunition and military material for Russia, facilitating sanctions evasion for Russia for Russian oligarchs through offshore trust and corporate formation services, evading sanctions imposed on Russia's cyber actors, laundering gold for a sanctioned Russian gold company, and supporting Russia's military industrial base by producing sensitive and critical items such as advanced machine tools and electronic components. It is also targeting Russian financial technology companies that provide necessary software and IT solutions for Russia's financial sector, the press release said. At the same time, the State Department is targeting entities and individuals involved in Russia's future energy, metals, and mining production and exports, sanctions, evasion, Russia's military-industrial base, including armed unmanned aerial vehicles, production, Belarusian support for Russia's war effort, and air logistics entities, additional subsidiaries of the State Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom, and malign actors involved in attempted forcible re-education of Ukraine's children, the Treasury Department press release said. Really? Malign actors, right? Who are these malign actors, by the way? I'd love to know that. Right, quick sidebar. I'd love to know, is this really reforced education for children, for Ukrainian children? I would just love to know that, because the propaganda is out there, folks. Don't take everything the corporate press says for fact, because, it's not. We know that. The new round of sanctions come as Ukraine has launched an audacious incursion. Oh, I'm surprised it mentioned that. Wow. They actually mentioned it way down in the article, right? They're not going to tell you that offline, because they know most people don't read the article all the way through. This is why I do this. This is why I read through all the BS to get to the good stuff. Because, right, they can't lie to you 100% of the time. 100% of the time, right? But they can lie to you 50% of the time, 100% of the time. The new round of sanctions come as Ukraine has launched its audacious incursion into Russia's Kursk region. I'm sorry to cut that off again, but they just call it an incursion. Hang on. That's the same thing Russia did. It's an invasion. They are occupying the Kursk region. Yeah, a city in that region had to evacuate. I think it's the city of Kursk. I'm not sure. But a city had to evacuate. Yeah, that's right. It's an invasion, corporate press. Russia's Kursk region that has left Moscow on the back foot for the first time in months. On Tuesday, Ukrainian military chief something said troops have advanced up to 35 kilometers through Russian defenses since their start of their surprise assault, capturing 93 settlements. Wow. Kirby said Friday that it's too soon to know whether what's going on in Kursk, the potential impact that could have in terms of escalation, but it's something that we remain concerned about. Yes, I would have to agree with that. This is very concerning. And once again, why did the U.S. government allow Ukraine to invade Russia? You might say it's justified, and I might actually agree with you on that. It might be justified, hey, but why are we still funding this? It's now mutual combat. It's no longer somebody just defending their independence, right? You don't defend your independence by invading another nation, regardless if that nation invaded you or not. I am sorry, right? Like, if somebody punches you or tries to punch you, you try to swat it away to defend yourself. You don't go on the attack and beat them up first. I'm sorry. That's just not how reality works, okay? If you're about to fight somebody, that's mutual combat. If they throw the first punch, that's mutual combat if you fight back. If you just try to defend yourself, you don't actually fight back. You defend yourself and back up and stop the fight. That's what you're supposed to do. If it's just self-defense, right? Self-defense is not offensive. This is offensive. They have now invaded Russia, which is insane to me. I kind of laughed when I saw that story. I almost covered it, but I've covered so many Ukraine stories that I really got burnt out on the Russia-Ukraine war. I mean, John Broker knows I was covering story after story after story about Russia, Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. And I got burnt out on it. But, they invaded Russia. I'm like, man. I laughed. I'm like, that's funny. Russia deserves it, to be honest. That's my opinion. But I don't think we need to be involved. Right? We should cut off all funding now. Right now. We should not be funding them anymore. But, You know, they're sending another round of military equipment and crap over there. They just passed that bill not that long ago with $60-something billion. That blew my freaking mind, man. I just don't see. We're spending in a $1.7 trillion deficit, and you're going to choose to spend more money. You have to borrow money to give to another nation for their mutual combat. Right? That's not the UFC. We're not funding these people. I don't know. I get so aggravated with this crap because why do we have so many fingers in the entire world? Why do we try to act like the world police, for crying out loud? Right? Peace through strength. That's what I say. We show a strong military presence. But you know what? When somebody else gets into another fight, it is not our job to go and give weapons to somebody, right? Like, when you see somebody on the street, two people fighting, you don't go and just jump in and start helping that one person because it's your friend. No, what you do, what normal people do, they go and try to break it up. You try to get them to stop fighting. You don't go in there and ag it on and help your friend, for crying out loud. That's ridiculous. But that's exactly what we're doing. Russia threw the first punch, but Ukraine's fighting back. Now they've invaded Russia, and we're agging it on, and then we're telling other people, "Oh, you better not help Russia." What? The outright arrogance of that just blows my mind. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. What do y'all think about Ukraine invading Russia? You think it's well deserved? I do. But I don't think we should be funding it, for crying out loud. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. Want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.